Hi Z Army, good to have you back. Sports video games have been popular since the dawn of games. And some sports games have grown to be among the biggest franchises in gaming history, like FIFA or Madden. Making a sports game make sense for a developer. The fan base of most popular sports is huge. But some developers see it differently. They've either made games about sports you've never heard of, or would have never suspected that even need a game. Hold tight and don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that bell. Here's our top 10 unusual sports games you probably didn't know. Let's Catch was released for the Nintendo Wii. And, as the name suggests, the highlighted sport is playing catch. Sounds a bit much, right? Playing catch on your expensive Wii when you could just spend a couple of bucks on a ball and do it in real life. Is this a game for sad kids that grew up without a daddy to play catch with? Well, maybe. Though the game has some challenging game modes that will have you rely on speed and precision, the most interesting part is the story mode. Here, the tempo goes down a bit and you're just playing catch with different neighbors. As you play catch, they tell you details about their life. The overall effect is very satisfying and maybe even therapeutic. The game was received with some criticism about the simple gameplay, but it also teaches us the lesson that sport is not only about scoring points or cool action, it's also about the social experience. Desi Adda Games of India is a collection of mini-games based on traditional Indian pastimes. It was the first Indian-developed game ever to be added to the PlayStation Network. The great thing about Desi Adda is that you've probably never heard of most of these sports ever being included in a video game. There's Pachisi, the national board game of India. There's kite fighting. Have you ever used a kite in a game, ever? And there's Kabaddi, a cross between rugby and wrestling, and you have to hold your breath while you do it? Even when this game isn't really a title that treats you with polished graphics while you play, you will learn about traditional Indian pastimes while you do it. And at the end, there's a bonus game, Bollywood dancing. To play Horseshoe, you only need a couple of spare horseshoes and a pole. If you happen to be a rugged cowboy, or if you're more of an inner-city type, you can try to dig up a classic 1990 American Horseshoes arcade cabinet. Just as difficult, probably. We never knew throwing horseshoes was such serious business, because every time you finish a game of Horseshoe, the American president appears to announce the score. Hail to the chief, the president's anthem even plays. We're not sure if adding the president makes the game of Horseshoe seem more important, but would the president be refereeing the game in a seedy alley if it wasn't? Ever heard of orienteering? It's a marvelous sport that's all about being outdoors, navigating through beautiful nature, using nothing but a compass, a map, and your wits. Now imagine doing all this inside behind your computer, and that beautiful real nature mentioned before looks like N64 graphics drawn by a child. Even though the graphics of this game are seriously lacking, the gameplay delivers a pretty authentic orienteering experience. Catching features will allow you to apply and train real-world orienteering techniques from the comfort of your own home without spoiling yourself too much with the pretty graphics of reality. Ever wanted to be a cheerleader? Then All-Star Cheer Squad is for you. And if you thought cheerleading was all about dancing, think again. So, as soon as you arrive at Camp Spirit, there's this bitch, Becca. And right away, she challenges you to a nighttime cheer challenge after curfew. She doesn't show up, so only you get punished for being out after curfew. So Jaden finds out and feels bad for you and wants to take revenge on Becca. But then, the spirit stick disappears and everybody thinks Tiger Squad stole it. But it was just Kiko who took it, so everything's okay. But then Brianna started being a total douche to Becca, and that's not okay, and you just want to say something, but yada yada yada. In the end, you win the big event. It's just a rhythm game. Ashes Cricket 2013 is an infamous debacle in gaming history. If you make a sports game about a sport there really aren't many games of yet, the trouble is you'll have to figure out everything for yourself. For example, the makers of Ashes Cricket didn't seem to understand how catching works. After delays, the game was eventually released on Steam. Reviews were so horribly negative that the game was removed from sale 4 days after release, and all buyers were given refunds. Publisher 505 stated doing this to protect the Ashes name. Epic burn. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Here's a game you've probably never played or heard of if you're not American. 8 to Glory Professional Bull Riding. The 8 refers to the number of seconds a rider must remain in the saddle of a raging bull to get a score. Lots of intensity, little stamina. Real-life bull riding is contested at events where they also feature steer wrestling and goat tying, so there's not many happy animals trotting around. And then we're not even talking about the pheasant slamming or the vole fondling. For once, we've found a game that's probably better than real life, since there's no real bulls being harassed while you ride them digitally. When you hear of Tony Hawk, you think of a skateboarding game. Shaun White reminds you of snowboarding through his game series. Even Dave Mirra might bring up some vision of bicycles. Ever heard of Jamie Jacobson? Bet you didn't even know there was a game about Razor scooters. Scooters have been the ugly duckling of extreme sports forever. At skate parks, the beef between legit skaters and scooter kids has been going on since the dawn of time. But scooter kids can rejoice, since there's also a video game of their favourite extreme transport. Released in 2000, Razor Freestyle Scooter was licensed by Razor, the brand that makes scooters and marketed to a younger audience. They're not all called scooter kids for nothing. The plot revolves around a group of friends being abducted and the player having to overcome scooter challenges to free them. As a fun Easter egg, one of these friends that needs to be freed happens to be a champion cage fighter, Tito Ortiz. Sound weird, right? But then you haven't seen the creepy end credits with scootering fursuits. Most sport games won't adequately prepare you for doing that particular sport in the real world. Try a Benihana after playing Tony Hawk. We'll catch up with you in the hospital while you get your groin reattached. But Self-Defense Training Camp says otherwise. This game will make you more confident if it comes to a physical confrontation, so they claim. This title makes use of the Kinect to track the player's movements and contains several modes like cardio training, reflex training, and self-defense rehearsal, none of which prepare you in any way for a real-life physical confrontation. What you can learn from self-defense rehearsal is that kicks to the groin are apparently the preferred winning tactic. The reception for Self-Defense Training Camp was horrible, and it is considered one of the worst games ever, with reviewers criticizing the minimal animations, the useless concept, and the crazy emphasis on kicking the groin. Gaelic Football. Yes, it's apparently a form of football for people who can't play regular football. Because you're allowed to pick up the ball for a bit, and you even score a point when you kick the ball over the goal. Look, we haven't bothered to look up the rules. Upon release, the game was heavily criticized for not offering the same standards as contemporary releases like FIFA or Pro Evolution Soccer. But maybe that's also to be expected from a game that's aimed at a smaller audience. On the other side, because of this limited audience, Gaelic Football was the best-selling PS2 title ever in Ireland. Even despite the lack of real player names due to rights issues, the only real name they could snatch was that of legendary commentator Michiel Mahura. But that name is too hard to pronounce for most. Do you know any other unusual sports that should be made into a game? Or Do you absolutely love a sports game that no one else has ever heard about and that doesn't suck like most games on this list? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell.